Resolution.
Oh, well then, obviously not. Oh, no. But when Dave and not Dave, Dave, yes.
Dave and Elsa.
And when Dave and Elsa come through, you just you can go to their name and make them promote to panelists so that they could be a part of the meeting. But that's when they sign in.
Yeah. And then
Maybe we're trying to sign in between.
Huh?
So maybe we're trying to sign in now.
Oh, yeah. But if you guys have their contact info, you can let them know that try to come in.
a couple around.
Good job.
Good job, good job.
I'll see you in a long bit.
No.
That's your fault.
Trying to stay out of trouble.
Not mine. Me too, but you know,
I could go for it.
I don't go for vacation myself. But here we are.
It's always next week.
Where did I go? Oh, not
But
much
you're
again.
going.
Oh.
Yeah, but I am going.
I thought you
I am going. I'm going to South Africa.
were nice. Winter.
Are you gonna
fall
go on a
right now.
safari?
No,
That's not my thing
for
either.
Thanksgiving.
Every other Monday night, it's right here. That's,
Yeah, that's a safari. No, I do not do safaris because I don't need to be that close to animals like that.
again, every other Monday.
True. But like,
Um,
God bless you.
seriously, how bad must it be next
Tony,
week?
we on? We good?
Alright, so yeah, so let's see. Alright, so good evening,
Okay.
members. Trustee and public and guest. This is the August 2023 meeting of the Flood Mitigation Advisory Committee. And
Hey, Tony, you may have to speak because I think the speaker's over here.
okay, and let's see, so we have present Bernie, Patty, Andrew, Steven, and Leilani, and we have Dave Finch. up
Dave,
in-
can you hear us?
Hi, Dave.
Okay.
We can't hear you.
He's,
Yes, I can.
okay,
Oh,
great.
Okay, great.
The speaker's over
Thank
there.
you.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so, let's see, exits it to the right and to the left. I don't know if I'm supposed to say anything else, but, welcome, everybody. Motion to start the meeting,
Oh,
first, second, all in favor?
Hi.
Okay. So just FYI, we have a revised agenda as of several hours ago. We struck item 3A4 from the agenda. I'm not supposed to talk about the report. It didn't say we couldn't talk about the presentation we saw several months ago. Okay, so item 1. Do we have any updates from the village on any of the projects? I know they've been making some progress.
Thank you.
And welcome, Elsa.
Dam reservoir study. Waiting, SLR study, we couldn't talk about, because it wasn't, did you say why? I'm sorry, I wasn't. Did you say why we couldn't, we're not talking about the SLR study?
So what I said was that we were not going to talk about the SLR draft report
Yes,
because
the draft report, we're not talking about it because it wasn't posted on our minutes because, excuse me, it was posted on the agenda. But because we only have a draft and that was given to the board, and the draft wasn't put on the website, and the draft wasn't put on the website because it's not the final. So that's why Tony took it off the agenda. Is that okay? Yeah,
okay with me.
okay. Waverly,
that being said,
go ahead.
I would like to talk about the we had they made a report several months ago.
Go ahead.
SLR did make a presentation several months ago.
So you can talk about
So I'd
that
like
if you want to.
talk about that. I have some questions on
Go
that.
ahead, let's have a discussion.
Let's just go in the order of, so the first order of business though is any updates on village projects.
Still removal.
Do we have anything from?
So in regards to the silt removal, which was, I know that the village was able to obtain some the information about the dredging, permit, and it has been, ooh, where is my notes? Was here, I'm in the wrong folder, I apologize. The dredging has been done on, God, where,
Very.
Grove.
no, yes, Northbury, Grove, and there was another update that he said.
By the salt shed, I think.
By the salt
Well, by
shed.
the salt shed, and I apologize. Cause I can't remember which note I had this in.
I have it too.
Can you talk about, while I find my notes, can you talk about the SLR?
Well, let's do this. Oh, so you're gonna look at, yeah, sure.
While
So,
I find my
I
notes.
have a suggestion. If we're talking about updates to the village while Lalani's looking for that, I can provide an update regarding the Waverly Avenue Bridge.
go ahead.
I was actually out there today with the engineers. They have posted the new stop signs and traffic devices in anticipation of the work commencing within the next 2 weeks. The bridge will be shut down. IABC, that's the Industrial Advisory Business Coalition, was very effective in communicating with the engineers and the local police department, and Rob Wasp, who's the town engineer, not to have that bridge closed until they actually commence the work, unlike other projects that have closed bridges and other roadways waiting to work. They were literally going to wait to the day before. So that's wonderful. The good news is they expect that this will be completed within 300 days. So from shovel and ground, 300 days. And the also great news is that the engineer on site is very accessible. They've been very, very receptive to the residents, the business owners and property owners in both Washingtonville and the industrial area. And this is going to be a great thing. It's going to be a very good thing, money well spent. So it's great to actually see things being done.
Are they posting the plan on the Town of Mamaroneck website?
We
So we can
can't,
see it, or you
I
can't? see it?
we don't know.
No,
'cause-
I know, for the Waverly Avenue, because it's a town project.
Yeah, it's a town. So I would, and the engineer is Rob Watts in the town of Mamaroneck. He's also as accessible and very approachable in terms of, we could certainly ask that. I could send them an email tomorrow and ask them if their plans are
Yeah,
readily
posted.
available or
Yeah,
posted.
this way you'll.
Sure.
If you can ask on behalf of the flood committee,
Sure. Am I
because
authorized to do
instead of
that?
doing each person asking, maybe ask
agree.
them on behalf of the flood committee,
Yeah, that's fine.
about the timeline or posting,
Sure.
Yeah. what you said.
So I'll do that tomorrow.
Okay.
Absolutely. So
Alright.
plan, is there anything else about the Waverly Avenue Bridge that anybody has any questions about? But again,
We had spoken, and there was some discussion, I think, on the traffic rerouting.
Sure.
And the pedestrian crossings. So is that kind of worked out?
I actually have, the traffic flow I can speak of in terms of pedestrian. I know this came up on several meetings we had. But,
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, forget your first.
So yes, they are with the traffic. Our chief of police have been the village PD have been very responsive also. They will have placement of officers on Mamaroneck Avenue and Hoyt, and also on Fenimore, in location of Waverly and Hoyt. And there are certain areas that are going to be marked off as, like in the city, don't block the box. Traffic will be diverted. All traffic, all tractor trailers will have to utilize, well, it should be anyway, Hoyt. So Waverly, as we know, will be shut down. So all traffic is going to be going and funneled down Hoyt, or they'll have to go down, those that can go underneath the underpass will have to go Fenimore down to Boston Post Road, where again, we have one lane down at the Boston Post Road and the Mamaroneck Avenue Bridge, but it's gonna be challenging. There's gonna be some hardships, but ultimately the price that, or I should say the reward that we will have from this, I think will be very beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely.
In regards to pedestrian, I think they're trying to reroute everybody towards Bud Walker Park, that area, instead of crossing over the
Bridge.
Center.
the center, yeah, the Center Avenue footbridge. But that is what they are trying to do.
Is there a way that this can be communicated to our residents so that people
I
kind of,
believe that. Yes, that part can be, and I will make sure that Jerry says it because he gives updates at every board meeting as of late, like for the last 2 to 3 board meetings. He has been giving updates about the flood mitigation. So I will ask him to add that to it.
Maybe an email blast out to residents.
Yeah.
Everybody
Okay.
doesn't, I mean,
Gosh,
if
everybody
I'm not at the
doesn't,
meeting, I don't usually, that means I usually can't watch it.
or add it to the newsletter.
get there and then it's like,
Yeah, well, that's what I
Right.
was gonna say. Post something to tell everyone the traffic plan, because
Right.
a lot of people are very concerned more about the traffic than fixing the flood, unfortunately. But just to
Bernie,
post
you're
it,
absolutely
Yeah.
correct.
so
That-
just
That's,
have them go to a website, whether it be the town, I mean, the town should be involved with posting something up there. And then maybe diverting some of the Waverly and Rockland traffic to not come down Waverly that way. I don't know if that's in their plan, but
I would think we
it would
want something
be
on the
nice
village,
to have a sign there too.
I would think we want something on the village website, because I think it'd be people from the village go to the
So
village.
it's the village, will ensure that it will be on the village website as well as within the newsletter.
great,
And then the updates during the board meetings.
To have an engineer plan for the.
I'm on that. I will
Yeah.
reach out to
Some
Rob
so
Boss.
people can geek out on the plan.
Sure.
I did notice today they were putting up signage in conjunction with it. I noticed they were putting up new signs at Hoyt
New
and
stop signs,
Fenimore.
yes.
Yeah.
It's now a 3-stop sign. It's a 3-point.
Three-way. All way.
right, so the next item is, Leilani, I'd like to really find out what the Army Corps' plans are and where they are for the next meeting. Okay? Because they promised us some stuff and I want us to get on their case about it, okay? And they had agreed to talk about the tweaks, so, I'd like to start talking.
A second, let me finish writing, okay? So before you ask me one more thing, newsletter.
So I would say updates on they were calling it the
The meeting.
PPA, the Project Partnership Agreement, discussion on the tweaks.
Okay,
Those were the main items that I remember and I think we need an update for the next meeting on that.
got it.
Have a meeting.
Okay, I got it all down.
The next item 3 is the Mamaronek Dam and Reservoir. And so we as the FMAC asked for a bunch of studies, right? We asked for a study of the reservoir and Saxon Woods for a retention detention strategy. We asked for a study of the aquifer. I remember those 2 at least.
Well, we also did, that part of, remember we walked the river that.
Oh, right. And the third, yeah, right. So then we had also put in one of the requests for information was I guess you'd call it the Sheldrake,
Between Bob Walker Park and, the curve.
almost from Fenimore Road
Yeah.
to Mamaronek Avenue. So Leilani, there's I think it was Jerry and Dan reached out to the fundraiser. And they're talking about putting in some type of a grant to get some of these studies done. So I don't know if we have to do anything about it, but they're asking for scopes of work and stuff like that.
The only thing that I can do is update you. I can find out updates because I also know that that they're also looking up, they're working on getting funding to do the testing of the water in the soil based upon Tim O'Connor's suggestion. I think there was some other people, their suggestion, so that they're doing that, so I can ask them as well as for the studies for those things that you just said.
And the other study was the stormwater regs, how to tighten up, what's the best way to tighten up the stormwater regs. So we had the Mamaroneck Reservoir and Saxon Woods for retention detention, that was one. The aqueduct,
I just got a text that we need to speak a little louder.
The aquifer, not
the
aqueduct.
aquifer for. the
Dave,
effect on
I mean, not Dave,
Tony.
Tony, thank you. Tony, you see that microphone right in front of you, that little circle thing? Yeah, just.
So what we had asked for was the possibility of increasing the retention detention of the Mamaroneck Reservoir, Saxon Woods Park, the effect of the aquifer on flooding and possible drawdowns. How do we deal with the sheldrake from Fenimore Road to Mamaroneck Avenue, maybe even in a short-term basis? And then how do we tighten up the stormwater regs? What should we be doing and how should we be doing it? So those were the studies. So what, Lonnie, I'd like to, if this grant thing, if they need help, I'd like to see how we can help them ASAP. I mean, I'm happy. I mean, we could work as a subcommittee or something. I know Bernie had suggested some subcommittees, which I know he put some humor in that one. I can't remember what the main topic was, but I remember the humor.
The elephant in the room.
I will.
Which one was that?
That's my favorite subject, the reservoir.
That is so-
Is the elephant in the room.
I will send out an email to them tomorrow, asking of these things of where they're at with the grant, and if they need any help
Okay,
or any recommendations from the committee, I will ask of you guys.
Now, is this something that has to go through the board for funding, or is this something,
Well, that they have to look into it, no.
Okay.
They can just look into it and then they'll let us know.
so just Donna, who looks into it?
Dan Sarnoff
Oh,
is
so
the,
Dan will then pass on our memos then.
yes. So I can ask Dan if he needs anything from you, any recommendations, because sometimes that helps when they're trying to get grants, and I'll let you know.
Can I intervene here, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I spoke to Jerry about the reservoir. And with the funding. And the county has to be on board too. There's something called Renaissance funding that all of the municipalities have to get together
Yes,
and apply for this grant. Because there's multiple municipalities involved. So I think it has to, we have to have a subcommittee for the reservoir. SLR has not studied the reservoir. Neither has the Army Corps of Engineers, which is very disappointing. We need to get the funding from the county to get someone to do a study on the reservoir because it's needed. It's a detention area that's already set up for detention, but it needs some work. The Board of Trustees has to get together and they have to
work with,
have a liaison for them for the other municipalities. They need to start the ball rolling with Harrison and Scarsdale and White Plains.
so. I know we talked about this at previous meetings of whether it's myself or other committee members reaching out to, if they have flood mitigation committees like ours. And I'm list to reach out to other local officials. And I reached out to White Plains and I spoke to White Plains
Okay.
about how are their storm water management, do they have any things in their codes? Or what do they think about other communities when they're building, and what are they doing to protect themselves as well as other surrounding communities? And I'm also in talks, but I missed my meeting yesterday because time got the best of me. But I rescheduled another meeting with New Rochelle with their sustainable, what's this person's title? They're in charge of sustainable environmental stuff. And he mentioned, his name is Nicholas, he's sustainability coordinator in City of New Rochelle. And he was mentioning to me about how he used to work with other municipalities, including Long Island, on flood mitigation. So I'm working with him to see how we can reinstate that committee.
Okay.
So that I've been trying to do, and I've been going back and forth with one of Harrison's local, they're one of their officials to see how we can meet.
But I believe the funding works where their Dan Sarnoff has to get
Yes.
together with our Dan Sarnoff,
Yes.
and Scarsdale's Dan Sarnoff has to
But-
get in touch with us, and we all have to and everyone has to get together.
But I
The
al-
Dan Sarnoffs of the
But I-
Westchester County.
But I also think that it could be a push on everybody's efforts, whether it's the local officials, the residents, everybody to push their Dan Sarnoffs to
okay.
even look into it.
Okay,
Because maybe it's not on their radar. Maybe it's not on the top of their list.
but I was under the understanding that the county wants to see.
Yes, the
The
county
people
wants
to get together and submit their.
Yes, if they want to
funding
deal with it,
funds, or however it works that way.
but if they don't, if it's not on their radar, they're not gonna look for it.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. I'm getting at that the Board of Trustees of Mamaroneck has to lead this charge to getting the funding, to
Mhm.
getting in touch with Harrison. They're not Harrison's, I mean, I could
That's-
talk to their flood mitigation. They have a
Yeah.
flood mitigation, but
That's
it
what I'm
would be
trying to
nice
do.
for the Board of Trustees to reach out with the
That's what
other.
Leilani said she's
Yeah,
been
okay.
doing for those 3 municipalities.
Yes,
All right, that's fine.
so I just covered that part.
Okay, all right.
All right.
One of the things though, Bernie and everybody, that bothered me when I heard them speaking, this is SLR, this is
Okay.
months ago, speaking about their study of, because it was a study at that point, was that they were saying that the upstream work that they were thinking of proposing was, I thought it was gonna be retention, detention, but it really wasn't. It was to solve local flooding upstream of Mamaroneck. So we're saying we want to work with these communities, which will help them solve their problems. To me, the problem with that is that when you solve their flooding problems, we're gonna get more water. And so after that, it bugged me that because when we were in Harrison at one point, looking at the road to nowhere and some of this stuff, that all backs up now, right? You pull that stuff out, the water's gonna come right down. So my question here is, and I think this gets to the fundraising. Do we know what the core projects are that we want to do, right? And in SLR also, in their report, in their discussion of what the report was gonna be, they didn't really study the reservoir, right? And so we've asked for a study of the reservoir. So maybe, and another question I had from for that group was, okay, did you study retention, detention in the whole watershed? And they said no. So to me, this fundraising, what are we gonna fundraise for? What should our focus be?
I mean, to me, what's important and, is the Mamaroneck River originates Silver Lake.
Right,
So the solution should come from to Silver Lake. That's where a solution would be, because that's where it originates. I mean, Silver Lake is huge, lots of water coming down. So that to me, if that's where it starts, you go to the source.
so to me, we need a study, not only do we need a study of the Mamaroneck, Saxon Woods area for retention, detention, we need a study of the watershed. The whole watershed, it all winds up in Mamaroneck. So to me, stopping all of that water, we have to stop it at the source. And nobody has studied that.
Can I ask a
thought
question about
that's what the
that?
study was.
How do you stop it if it's already there? Let me just take a step back.
Slow it down. Let me count.
Okay, the annual number of events that we have, when I say flood events, like, for example, I'm gonna take the industrial area as an example. Just this past summer, since May, we've had about 3 significant events that I refer to as nuisance flooding, not catastrophic, but nuisance. So again, this goes to the individuals who say that inches don't mean anything, inches mean everything, because we're 5 inches from another catastrophe. But my point is what exists now upstream, how do we stop it now versus I mean, I'm just trying to understand what you're, what,
So-
what
so-
you're,
so
what you're
where
saying.
my head's at is that, and I'm just gonna use New York City as an example. They did this program, and I'm not saying this is what we should do, but they did the green roof program, they did the bioswales
Right.
program. And yes, that will not happen, that will not help in an Ida situation. But in a 2 or 3 or 4 inch rain, that definitely
Right.
helps. And so I think if we looked at this watershed for every spot, let's take Silver Lake. I don't know what you could be done with Silver Lake, but Bernie's been talking about every meeting we have most often. He's been saying every house, stop it a little bit at every house. And I think if we, I don't know that this would work at all, but I think we need the engineers to look at this and say, okay, if you took every property that, like my house, put 2 55-gallon rain barrels in there and go to Saxon Woods. I don't know what they could find out, but I think we need
Okay,
that
so that's what
information.
you're okay. I wasn't sure when you're saying stop, like, what, we're gonna put a dam, I mean, I wasn't.
I'd like to put an automatic dam in, but,
We all, believe me, but
yeah.
I just
And,
wanna
yeah,
be also be practical in terms of.
right, I'm saying, what can we do practically? You know, because if you add up,
What are you talking about for, right, this immediate moment or down the
Well, that's what I
road?
was trying to, are we talking about the future? Or are we talking about today?
Oh,
We can't
okay.
put the genie back in the bottle in the sense of what's here is here. We have to deal, how are we gonna deal with what's present? Tomorrow, yes, in terms of green roofs and swales and this and that, but today is today. You're not gonna be able to shove it back in the bottle. So how do we deal with today's complexities and the?
Well,
It's gonna be a lot of small solutions.
Right.
And
As
we
we
have,
would say, low hanging fruit.
yeah, and we have to come up with all these little studies that have to be done, and then each of them will have a solution. The aquifer's gonna have a different solution. It's gonna help.
But I have a question for y'all.
Yeah.
How do we, Bernie, reservoirs, dams, absolutely. Silver Lake, when you have, and I find from the experiences I've had with committees and studies here, when you have all these studies. In the end, you have a study, now what? Like, how do we link the study? How do I link his study with your study and Tony, your study? How do we make this so once we have this, we can actually do something with it? That's my question. So you raise the money, the communities work together, but how do we?
you're not gonna raise the money. This is, I'm not busting your chops at all, Bernie. I'm just saying, what are we raising?
How do we connect the dots?
What are
though?
we
That's my
raising?
question.
What are we
okay,
raising?
you wanna hear if I was president? If I was president, I have a plan in my head, and
What's your
it's,
plan?
we already have the dam study, which is already studied, and
Mhm.
we fix that problem.
Right here, but I don't
Whether
see it.
it's the
So-
4 solutions, and whether it's the 4
But I don't
options,
see
which
what
I
the
think
other
3 of them are
ones.
no good, but the
I'm
one,
not
if we
seeing
pick
how
the one
everybody
option,
doesn't
and then we get the
come-
ball rolling with the Renaissance funding, that's the first part, is to get the money for someone, whether it be SLR or GHD, to study the reservoir for detention purposes, and we get them to study it, and we fix the reservoir, so you have a dam and a detention center, a detention area that's 1 mile long and, you know, 1/4 of a mile wide, at least, very least. That is a detention center that holds back all the water, which gives us time when it rains. And it'll give us time where we can release the water safely and slowly.
So let me ask you, let me ask you a question. So
But we
you
have to do a
study.
lot of, the squeaky wheel has to squeak in this.
I think to me.
We have to get the Board of Trustees to go to bat for us, to talk to the other municipalities, and not to work around it, get
Mhm.
the Dan Sarnoffs in the room and say, call up Catherine Parker and whoever it might be that's gonna give the money from the county, get the money for the study of the reservoir. That's the first step. And start the ball rolling. I know it's not gonna happen right now, and it's not gonna help us right now, but this is what we're here for.
I think.
Can
I mean, we're here for the future of Mamaroneck. We're not here for, you
I
know,
think all we have to do is we have to propose all these things, and then they have to be studied, but we have to propose them first. Because then we put this proposal, study, funding. It's a train, you know, that goes on.
Well, that's-
So we have to first get all the proposals. What's gonna be next now? We're talking, what we're gonna talk about next? It'll probably be from the SLR report. Maybe we'll be able to pick some things. We could talk about like later, maybe properties that, you know, that's using some parkland or something. All this stuff, you know, for what,
Hold on,
Verizon. So what has
guys,
happened?
Straight on the
Let's hear from our
reservoir, let's not.
elected
focus
officials.
on the
Jump up,
bureaucracy.
Jason.
So let's focus on the,
Wait,
let's
Bernie.
focus on the one thing.
Bernie, you have to let him finish
go ahead.
My
talking.
point is though, we have to come up with the proposals for studies.
Yes.
And it's of all things, and then they'll be studied and then they'll be funded, but let's focus though on us getting the word out of what has to be proposed. Because there's gonna be a bunch of other things that we're gonna figure out along the way that have to be proposed, because every meeting is like we're coming up with another proposal. That is great, that should be what we're doing. We can't be concerned with the funding, because that isn't our job. We can't be concerned, you know, we have to be concerned of putting the word out of what has to be done.
Agreed.
Okay, but Stephen, we already requested from the Board of Trustees to study the retention detention possibility at the reservoir and at Saxon Woods.
Right.
So, Bernie, do we want to say to make the focus of the fundraising that study?
Yeah, well, because that's, I think first, I should clarify myself. The first thing that should happen is there should be a subcommittee here. And that was from the suggestion from the village manager. And I think it's a great idea to focus on that, because Jerry was saying that there's gonna be meetings that you have to go to the county and you know, you have to attend all these meetings. They're during the day and you know, you have to show face there. So I think first is the subcommittee. Second is get the funding for something. Well, you always have to have something to get the funding
The
for
subcommittee for what?
the reservoir, to study the reservoir for flood detention. So get a subcommittee, ask the question
I'll let him finish.
of getting the study, and then after the study, then we can proceed to what we do with how the study comes out. I mean, that's how it works. It's either they're gonna say, no, it's no good, or yeah, it's a great idea. We need to do this and this and this, and then we go from there. Or it might just get squashed and someone might say that I'm crazy and the reservoir is not gonna do anything for us. So we have to put the horse before the cart here.
I just have a question, and I'm sorry, I was gonna ask you, but if you don't feel like answering, Norm, you don't have to. You need me to speak louder? Oh, I'm sorry. I said I wanted to ask you a question because you were on the board previously, but you don't have to answer if that's not what you feel like doing. But when you were on the board, when you as mayor, was the tri-municipality or the committees to work with other municipalities, including Long Island, was that in effect? That was
Actually,
This
it
way.
was brought up several times, it was discussed. There are a couple basic comments that I will make. And all your comments make sense and it's true. However, there's certain things. First of all, you don't stop water. You control it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you want to do. The Army Corps of Engineers in their study, as far as the, not the dam, but the reservoir is concerned. And
Norm, speak, come closer so you can speak. Yeah,
Just come up closer, because the mic and some people can't hear via Zoom, and I apologize. And we
This
don't
isn't
have like a
Norm, what you're saying.
microphone, but you can come right here. Right here is fine. I apologize.
I know, I would have got dressed up. The original ACE study claims through engineering that you have an 8 to 10 minute retention. The existing reservoir where it is, of course, the existing reservoir is all filled up by the county for trees and everything else is another story. There are certain things. I'm not a big fan of studies because all you're gonna do is have something that's called paralysis by analysis. Okay, and he'll tell you that because it's true. If you sit there and you just study the whole time, you're gonna be paralyzed. I think what's gonna happen is the reality, and as an administrator, I'm sure he could agree that there are two potential avenues to address it. One is, which was brought up, and there is case study, you can actually sue up-county municipalities because it affects the village dumping it down. Almost any municipality, including White Plains, which I had even testified before, and they were very willing to do it, as the same as any project in the village of Marinick.
Mhm.
If a project comes up and you go to the planning board, you want a minimum 110% retention. So that's what you want. Now, what you're really gonna do is, if there's any analysis, is my opinion, is that you want engineering analysis. Because the whole idea is retention. If it rains hard enough, fast enough, with the toilet bowl, I hate to use that term, but that's where all the water's gonna come down. So the more retention you have, the more control you have. You're not gonna stop it, you control it. As an example, if NOAA says you're gonna have a heavy rainstorm, call up Larchmont or the town and say, or the town of Marinick, say, can you lower the reservoir?
Which I think, Jared,
Right.
we
As
implement that
retention.
now. We do that now.
But
We do.
it's.
We have an
it's-
agreement with them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they do it all, and it's very successful, it does.
Yeah.
You actually stop some flooding, not heavy.
But
not
inches
night,
count,
everything
inches
else.
literally
But
count, yeah.
that's, you're never gonna stop flooding 100%. What you wanna do, even the Army Corps of Engineers, the entire concept of the
Understand.
program is you lower the effect, so it's in the basements, it's not in living areas and stuff like that. But, I hate to say it, but it all comes down to a dollar bill. The Army Corps of Engineers studies, they came up with 5 or 6 alternatives, and you had to have a minimum of an improvement of $1 to $1. If the feds are gonna give you $1, you have to show you're gonna have more than $1's benefit, and
Norm,
that's what. it goes
getting
down.
back though to what these individuals were just talking about, which is a full circle, you've got study. If you do too many studies, nothing's gonna get done. The question is, Bernie has the reservoir. This is a study that needs to be done. Lamani asked the question in terms of when you were mayor, the cooperation, the participation amongst communities. So Stephen has a concept about Silver Lake. How do we need to be able to connect the dots so that we're not spinning our wheels around study after study after study, and at the end of the day, nothing gets done. Taking the study that Bernie and Steve are talking about, connecting the dots and having our elected officials being able, is there a manner that which we have a seat at the table
Yeah.
with White Plains?
Or has
Harrison,
it been, what did it look
A
like?
review, exactly.
Opinion is you have
That's
to
the
go through
question.
the county. The county has leverage. There's different ways to do it.
Yes,
It's nice to sing in Kumbaya, and we're gonna get all the
But that's not-
communities to agree.
So what
But
now?
I'm gonna give you a
Go
specific
ahead, go ahead.
example. I believe, and I can be checked out. I don't know if he's still there, but one of the engineers in the town village of Harrison recommended not one, but 2 dams and 2 retentions. The board turned it down.
The town of.
The town of
Harrison.
Harrison turned it down.
Three dams.
In
Harrison.
Harrison.
Oh, I'm saying in
Right,
Harrison.
right.
Right, in Harrison.
I know about that, yeah.
Right, so.
And the question is, would it be right for
This
us
is
to
an
go?
important point. The county has some leverage. You can have, I think what you really have to do is.
I hear you.
Have the village lead the way
I hear
and
you.
establish a basin-wide, like a
Mhm,
sewer district,
mhm.
you have to have a flood district.
Mhm.
That includes all the municipalities, and part of the requirements are, you have to have retentions in there. How you fund it's another story, but I think bottom line is you need an engineering study to where the retention should be to control it, not stop it, control the water. As you said before, if you control it and you say, well, how much can, let come down at the time. And that's what it really comes down to. It's not a
I
lot.
get what he's
But I
saying.
think you gotta push Catherine and George
But Norm-
to have a district line.
With,
No, but I totally get what he's saying. He's answering my question. And he's saying that as an official, we need to put pressure on the county so that the county puts pressure on the other municipalities to make it as a mandated thing. So it's not that I'm talking to individual municipalities and I may not get any traction there, but I'll get traction quicker. And please correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm saying anything different what you said, but the traction will gain a greater momentum if we push the county to kind of push the other municipalities to join in.
You're correct, there's different
Okay.
forms to do
but
it.
if I
Yes.
recall,
I'm sorry,
when
What you can do is, if you have a county district, okay? Part of that district that's included in, it's not only, Harrison, White Plains,
Right.
Scarsdale, which is a big contributor, and as far as Silver Lake's concerned, North Castle and so on, comes all the way
If I
down.
recall,
Wait, let me finish one thing. If you have a district like a sewer district, and if it's a county district, the county controls it, and then you go back to the bottom line, which is the purse string. If you're in here, and if you have to develop in Scarsdale or someplace else in retention, they're gonna be responsible for the funding their retention, or if it's possible, can you get federal funding? But everything comes down to a dollar bill, that's what it really comes down to. I mean,
Thank you.
the village, Army Corps of Engineers was based on formula, it has to be more than 1-to-1, and that's what it comes down to. And that's why they didn't do the reservoir. And that's why they stopped at Barry Avenue and said, well, we're gonna raise the houses in the heights, because it's down to the dollar bill, that's what it comes to.
But-
Hang on, let me make a
Thank you.
comment, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Norm.
Thank you, Norm.
Thank you.
When
Much
we-
appreciated.
When
He
we,
was here.
when we listened to SLR at their presentation, one of the questions we asked was, did they do a basin-wide, to use Norm's term, study of retention detention? They said no. So I made a joke that Jerry can get money to do a basin-wide, a watershed approach to retention detention. So I think that if I was gonna ask for money today, right now, I'm saying, let's get that study done. Let's get the watershed where can we study? And in that's gonna be Mamaroneck Reservoir, everything.
Playing off the mayor,
This is the money, this is the funding.
but playing off the mayor right here, if. What Norm was
Ex-mayor.
saying, was, so we didn't know, right, until our meeting, what SLR was including in their study, right? We didn't know that. We realized that they don't have the reservoir in their study. We realized that the work that they did in Harrison or White Plains was just for Harrison and White Plains for their localized flooding, not for us, right? They didn't connect the dots, which we thought kind of misunderstood, but everybody was in those meetings that, and I misunderstood as well. We thought they were gonna connect the dots, but they didn't. So now, if the county can put up the money, which they have, to be able to help us create that missing link that SLR didn't do, I think that's the way to go, right?
see, that's
Because
exactly what we were just talking
We're
about.
spending our own money.
That is
to do
exactly what,
Real work. I mean, big dollars to do real work. If we can get the county to help us creating the district, we've been talking about creating a sewer district for 10+ years. 3 years ago, I had another meeting with them and I'm telling them, we're about ready to spend $5-6 million on the sewer. What about us? And they said, oh, no, you'll be able to put that money into the
kidding.
amount that you're gonna spend. Now we're spending another $3.5 million to fix our sewers. The county should have been doing the countywide sewer district, but never did. To get them to do a storm sewer district or a storm district is gonna be even more of a lift. But they have the money for the study to link SLR, what we have here, and the rest of the communities, so that they can have that lower Westchester study that we're looking for. We gotta get, he's right, we gotta get Catherine here, and Catherine will get it done for us. There's no doubt in my mind. How long it takes, that's county, grind.
So one comment and then a question. My comment, which I said earlier, was after listening to them, SLR, and realizing they didn't connect the dots.
Yeah,
To me, when they said they're gonna solve those individual localized problems, that's gonna make our flooding worse.
Yeah, I think so.
So, okay, so that was my statement. My question then is, okay, what should the next step be to,
Okay, so let's work backwards.
okay,
So I have the permits, we have the permits to do our individual village dredging. We have the permits to do that. DOS is about ready to do it. They just asked Harbor Coastal if they have any final comments. They have until the end of the week to give them final comments. DEC sent us the
our
permit.
local Harbor Coastal.
Yeah, a local Harbor Coastal hasn't been able to get a quorum, so they haven't been able, but then Leilani and I and Gino went to the town and they turned it around in 4 days to get them the letter of consistency, right? So let's work backwards and I'll try not to digress. We have our permits to do our dredging. The Army Corps is doing their work. They're designing Ward Avenue Bridge, or they're knocking down Ward Avenue Bridge and doing the redesign, right? And then we're moving up, we have the dam study, right? We have a $90,000 combined $90,000 dam study, which we were being threatened with a order on consent if we didn't have it, because it was like, 15 years old or 15 years overdue. But what we don't have is the reservoir, right? We don't have the reservoir. So we're working backwards out of the village. We're backing out of the village now. If we can get a reservoir study, which is not our reservoir, it's kind of maybe touching the village, right? But it's mostly county. If we can get the reservoir study so that we can determine what depth we would need to dredge the reservoir in order to give us some retention to help us with the over the top of the dam. And then move up the line, that's what we need to do. That's what we need to do. We need to back out of this village.
Jerry, how do we,
I think we've done everything we can in our village with all the work that we've been doing for the last 2 years with permits and dredging and all that other crap that I've been doing.
the question that I think that we have is, once we go further north, west, east of the reservoir, how do we take that next step? I think that's again, Catherine Parker.
Right, but the county couldn't force me to do anything. I can tell you that right now. Maybe they can force my elected officials to do something. But they don't have the authority to mandate in this village, you have to do this, you have to do that. We'd have to come up with something, right? We'd have to come up with an agreement. They have to negotiate agreement with the others above us and around us in order to help if the study demonstrates. We have home rule. They don't have the authority
Right.
to come down on us and say, village, you need to spend $1 million on this because you have to help Larchmont, or you have to help this little piece of whatever you want to call it. That can't happen.
So the thing is that we as elected officials have to talk to each other.
Yeah.
To ensure that we, in a way that to say how this is gonna benefit us all.
And we can partner. We partner with the county to do the pier job. That's gonna start on September 10th. So we partner with them. We gave them a half acre of our park to stage their material, to stage their trucks, so that they could do the outfall jetting project, right? We partner with them all the time. They just need to,
It's just not moving at the.
guys like Dave Kavinga and those guys, they're not gonna advance anything if they don't have some kind of a document or some kind of a study. That shows them. Geez, I mean, tonight, I just started distributing the Tompkins Avenue Bridge study, 121 pages. These things are elaborate. We just got this done after 2 years of not having the Tompkins Bridge. Now I have the document to move forward and to start working on Tompkins Avenue Bridge. So that's what we have to do. We have to back out of this village and start pushing up with county assistance.
Should we ask the county for a watershed retention detention, including the Mamaroneck Reservoir?
That would be great.
So I would volunteer to call Catherine. Would that be a okay step?
I think this board, advisory board to the Board of Trustees, passes a resolution to ask the Board of Trustees to do it. Right? If I call the county. you know who
Wasn't
I'm
that
gonna
what we
call?
said we
I'm
were
gonna call
gonna
the
do?
Commissioner Stone. They wanna talk to Catherine, they wanna talk to George, it has to
I
go
didn't
from
miss a
elected
step.
to elected.
Okay.
I-
Not volunteer, not appointed, gotta go elected. to elected.
Jerry, and in fact, that's exactly what we were
Think about it.
talking about. That's point on. Right, and we could do it right now.
You can do it right now, you can do it at any
That's-
meeting you want.
That's,
Let's do it.
Let's take a 2-minute break. Well, Leilani, we're taking a break.
she right?
Please.
Yeah, and
Sorry, I
what's,
was late.
now what's the Renaissance funding? That's something
Yeah. so-
that they're giving out funding for a collaboration
2-minute
of
break.
We're taking a
municipalities.
break while Alani's not in the
Okay.
room, so give her a minute.
Okay.
County is a municipality, county is a governmental. entity.
Okay. All right, we'll talk, we'll discuss that.
I'll explain to you how the state likes to award funding. And it's not on an individual basis, it's on a combined basis. I'll explain that.
Okay, that's, all right, good.
Where's Dave?
He's right there. Oh.
No.
It's in Chatham, Massachusetts, and I'm very
Is it
jealous.
cold up there?
Beautiful,
Doesn't look it.
looks beautiful.
looks tan.
It's not cold. It's not cold up there. I went to Minnesota for a week to the Mayo Clinic, and it was 95 degrees every single day. And I'm saying to myself.
Ice box of the country.
This is what they do.
How about you go in January, February? Not so much.
Yeah.
I was, I'm not sure if you were listening at the beginning of the meeting, but it's the,
I had to double up on the meeting.
They're doing great. They're moving forward with the way we're having it within the next 2 weeks. Yes, they were out there, they were putting new signs up. So
They did-
very responsive.
They did the traffic, they did the
Mhm.
stop sign today.
Yep,
The phone up and all that stuff.
yeah, so. Good stuff. We're moving forward, progress.
I
So
like-
here on Cape Cod, it's just starting to get chilly out here in the evening. I'm sitting out on
West for Cape Cod.
on the back, I'm sitting out on the back patio. And you can see the blue sky of the setting sun behind me. But I have to turn on the spotlights to get some out here. But it is getting chilly.
Good, that's good, because we could use a little fresh air. We had it this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
It's nice this
I was in
morning.
Dallas on Saturday. It was 115.
Nice.
Yeah, lovely.
My
Suck the air.
Arizona cousins are coming to New York City to visit.
To cool off.
The cool off. They have been miserable out there, because they won't leave the house.
I bet, I
Well,
wouldn't either.
How can you?
I went to court yesterday, the suit, obviously, and it was 90 and it was, must be miserable. I said, no, I was in Dallas. This is easy. This is vacation.
Yes, it was pretty warm. You come to court here today?
I was in New Rochelle. Why, I missed anything good?
No.
Okay.
Sure did.
Tuesdays and Thursdays, American Village.
Standing appointments.
Exactly, standing room only.
Leilani, I went to a community fridge meeting.
Good job.
Teresa, and I thought Tom was gonna come, and then I cut out.
Well, that's supposed to be there.
No.
Good job.
He went to Waterworks.
Hmm?
They have a Waterworks.
Oh,
Right.
They have a Waterworks. They have a Waterworks.
oh, okay. I had another meeting, so I apologize if I was supposed to be there, but I didn't.
Tony, the only thing I want to ask,
Had a potential overflow issue.
oh God.
Did you break the bathroom?
Oh, we have to do a survey on that. Do we have to do a study on this?
Oh,
Problem.
Because I was just gonna say, aren't you a facilities manager? And she said,
No, look at that. Sign them up. Tony,
Okay.
I need to leave in. 2
Meeting
minutes.
is
there anything that
resumed.
We need to vote. Do you need my vote on anything?
Okay, so we've had discussion about that we've had several studies done. And the most recent one, which is not complete yet, the SLR study, did not evaluate detention retention either at the Mamaroneck Reservoir, which we had requested that the board look into, and in the watershed as a whole. So I'm just trying to throw some wording out. The FMAC requests that the Board of Village Manager and Board of Trustees pursue funding for a watershed retention detention engineering study, including on the Mamaroneck Reservoir, ASAP. Does anybody wanna edit that?
To ask the county to do that, not us to pursue the funding, but the county to do that.
Okay, so how about we say the county and other entity, I mean, if Jerry can find that rent us, maybe to rent.
Okay, so partner with the county, but not just Mamaroneck.
If the awarding agency sees that there's multiple entities that they're kind of grabbing, they like that better.
As I said, it should be the county that's
Yep, partner with the.
partner with the county to
To pursue
funding.
funding for studies.
Right, so FMAC asks the Board of Trustees and the village manager to obtain funding for a watershed study to partner with the county.
Shouldn't it be with other municipalities also? No.
Just us and the
On the county for a watershed study of retention and detention, including the Mamaroneck Reservoir.
Something like the whole bit, the basin.
Mamaroneck Reservoir?
The whole watershed, the Mamaroneck, yeah, Sheldrick watershed.
That's Sheldrake.
I think technically it's a Mamaroneck Sheldrake.
You said Sheldrake?
Yeah, Mamaroneck
No.
Shell.
Saxon Woods.
No, Saxon Woods, Dave's right. So it's the Mamaroneck Reservoir. Just leave it at that.
So Mamaroneck.
Right, so it's the watershed and, right, but it's the watershed. Yeah, right,
That would include wherever it originates.
right, yeah,
That's your Silver Lake.
Yeah.
right, so like, all right, so do I have a motion? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Dave is in favor. Elsa, are you voting on this? In favor? Aye, okay, so it's unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, great, excellent. Thank you, ex-mayor or former mayor, what do they call it? Like,
Norm.
Just don't call him late for dinner.
We can't leave that subject yet because. I have a
because it's your pet project? Go ahead, what's the next topic?
Well, when's the dam report gonna come out? When is the BOT gonna have it in their possession?
When it just, isn't it when it's like the final draft is submitted?
The final draft and the final payment is on September 12th.
Are you talking about the GD report?
GHG.
GHD.
All the damn
Where it goes in front of the board of trustees and they have to, you guys have to make a
Deliberate.
decision.
Deliver.
September,
Well, is the final bill for GHD and the conclusion of the report will be a work session.
Okay, so let's sticking with the SLO, when we do get their final report. I had a couple of questions. One is, and
When we get the final report, I'll be able to ask questions on it, or it'll be the final report?
No, you as a member could ask me questions if you
September
want to
12th is when
tomorrow.
it's
if you want.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry about that.
Report is coming.
Yeah.
Final bill.
Okay.
Final
Okay,
It's
so then-
still a draft. I may,
inclusion
we
of
may
report
discuss
of
something
board
and
of
then I can-
trustees.
Right.
Inclusion
We're
of
gonna meet
report
with
of
the
board
throughway
of
at some point
trustees.
within the next,
Next month.
September 20. That's
yeah,
actually.
right,
That's actually-
so are we gonna send that, can
Wait,
we?
Jerry just said something about the highway, I mean, about the way,
Yeah.
which.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but hang on. We had told the Thruway that we would send them the SLR report, because right, so when can we send that to them? You think before, oh, they have
they
it?
have it.
Oh, okay, great. And then I think they had said,
Are you on that?
what's your question?
Are you on that agenda item?
No, Jerry made reference to
okay.
it, so that's why I just wanted to.
They asked, when the draft came out, to send it to them, they asked for 2 weeks to digest it, and then they get back to us for the meeting, which is for the meeting date today.
Right, so, all right, so yeah, so on item 6,
And you guys have to worry about the number of people that jump on that call.
Two
Can't have
maps.
a quorum. If I got flood people on there, if I have board of trustees, I can't have a quorum of people, so maybe pick representatives or whatever you want to do.
all right, we can
It's
figure.
September 21st, I believe.
Yep, it is.
Why, you can't, how many of us can do it and then how many
What's the full
trustees?
membership?
7.
3 people can jump from here, 2 people can jump from there.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question, Vern?
I'm glad they're at the table and I appreciate Kate and you guys for doing that. Because they are a ghost agency. You never get that. Never.
I agree.
All right, so, Jerry, while you're here, I
Maybe,
don't know how long you're staying, but the town,
yeah.
say that?
Your call.
I didn't have it
Oh.
when you had it.
Have the service program,
The town does.
right, so. Is it,
Citizen Emergency Response Team. That's what you're talking about?
yes, so the FEMA program. So I was thinking, because we've talked about emergency preparedness at different times.
Yep.
And I think I sent out a note about a couple of things I found. So I was thinking, would that be a worthwhile effort? And we don't have to decide tonight, but is that something that we should consider having for the village?
I have considered it and I've contacted the CERT trainer for the county. And he's willing to come either October or November or his training session. He's a volunteer at the county. He's the coordinator for the CERT teams Westchester wide. And he sets up, would have to go to Valhalla. He sets up training in October or in, it might be April, I'm sorry, October and April. So I can set that up.
Who gets invited?
It would be people who want to spend the time to do it. It might be
Volunteers.
30 It might be 30 hours.
Yeah, I know.
20 or 30 hours, yeah, of training.
Again, for those at home or that may not be, just can you, Tony or Jerry,
Sure.
tell us what CERT?
So it's the community emergency response team, they would augment our emergency management team, right? The village has now a newly created 22-member emergency management team of civilians. And then we have fire department and police department. So our team gets trained on a monthly basis. I am the coordinator for them. And then these would be a separate group of individuals, volunteers, that would handle other items such as distribution of water, food, anything that's that would be appropriate for a citizen to do, and they would be trained to do so.
So I would see if you guys could develop a flyer for it, if if people are interested. Sometimes I would go to areas that are flood prone, but when it's high, they're too busy with their own house, so I would seek outside of any individuals. But I don't want to limit that, I don't want to not involve. Right, I don't want to not, ask any person who's been a flood victim to just, not include them, but see if any,
So our challenge during Ida was not our response. We were spot on with our response. We were spot on with our cleanup. Our challenge, my challenge was handling volunteers that came to us that wanted to do something. And I wasn't prepared to give a citizen, a resident, a job. Because I'm more of a organizational guy with staff and emergency managers than I am with citizens. So when I had someone who wanted to deliver 500 cases of water and distribute that, I didn't have people to do that. A CERT team would do that.
Right, yeah.
I had to drop ship it at the park and you'd go down there and get the water, right? Not ideal. Those kinds of things. So I put Dan in charge of this recovery center and Dan was getting an influx of volunteers. What can I do? What can I do? Non-victims, non-flood victims. And that's the reason it came up that I made the county contact. Because if I have a CERT team, that CERT team would have a leader. That leader would organize them, just like I organize our emergency management team. And they would be dispatched with assignments from me, and then they would handle it. That would be valuable for us.
is there a minimum of people who can sign up? Okay.
Now, if you've ever been to Valhalla, they've got, I guess, 70, 80 desks that they would set us up in.
So how can we help you get possible? So what would you want us to do?
Well, let me reach back to my county contact and see which sessions. And then we can go from there as far as.
Advertising.
Yeah, where do you want to put it? I mean, we have a public information officer, so we would assign it to them. If this board, this commission wants to promote a CERT team, then that's fine. I can do that.
Jerry, I think also a good idea is utilizing some of the neighborhood associations, Shriekers, Oriented Point Association. I mean, although Heights gets flooded pretty significantly, but utilizing those resources as well, I think would also be, I think that it'd be a great way to. So that's
We had
something,
to send them like to soup pantry, and send them to different, because we just didn't have assignments.
Right.
They wanted to get.
so when you have something, definitely,
Yeah.
I'll definitely pass it on to our, please, yeah.
Great.
Well, how do we get it out to the masses? Put it
Well, I'm
on
just
the-
saying
Well,
that's one of many different.
There's a lot
ways
of
to do it.
different
Oh,
ways,
okay.
but
All right.
the
On that side of
newsletter.
Boston Post Road, there's the Shorebreakers, right, the SFOA and OPA,
Washingtonville with, yeah,
and then we can do.
well, but
then
Washington.
Harbor Heights.
yeah,
All
You
right.
think that?
I know, I'm just saying,
I get you.
it's title, it's a title thing this time and,
If it's a title thing, we'll come see you.
okay.
I put some emergency management stuff right in this agenda. We don't have to go through it.
Robert. Robert is the coordinator at the county. Amadeo is his last name. Amadeo.
I'm
One
not,
of your clients? Look at the flyer, look at it. So-
There's Amadeo's, gardening.
the engineer, the Harrison engineer, wasn't that Amadeo?
No. this is
Big
another
gardening
one.
place.
Oh, Modio's.
Well, that's how you say
Amodio's.
it, but it's, I say Amadeo, you say Amodio,
Amodio,
tomato,
yeah.
tomato.
You say
I
tomato,
know
I
the
say
o-
tomato.
Well, I know I know the owner a little bit, but
He lives
it
in
says
West
Amodio.
Point. He's in White Plains.
Right.
Yeah.
Modio.
Sandbags people?
What about,
Sandbags again?
You need glasses.
yeah, no, I don't.
Good name.
What about, Bernie,
What's the next on the list?
What?
Sandbags, if we're going down on the list.
Sandbags?
no,
Well, I think we passed a lot of things on the list.
Yeah,
um,
we're going, yeah, we're
I
Talking
doing
about
mean, we
connecting
skipped a lot
dots.
of things.
comprehensive plan.
American Avenue School, Jefferson parking lot.
it's on the Mamaroneck Avenue, because I've been looking at that thing. So what they're building, so Mamaroneck Avenue Comics, is that the project you're talking about?
Onyx is on the other
No,
one.
not the Homix, Mamaroneck Avenue.
That's Mamaroneck.
Likes to go and scream about comics.
Comics is.
Yeah, well,
right,
that's-
Comics
That's
isn't our
different.
fight.
Can you give an update on what the letter that you wrote today to the
Yeah, I wrote
people?
this letter. So I've
Thank you.
been going to meetings and emailing them, and they said they were gonna put a 2,000-gallon seepage tanks in the back there.
Cistern.
Yeah, like
Driveway.
dry well that collects surface water. So I thought it was a nice gesture, but they also put in concrete sidewalks and walls and more impervious surface. So I wrote a letter today to the New York State Department of Education and the commissioner. So we'll hear back from them because it seems like they're spinning their wheels a little bit. They wanted me to be on there, the Mamaroneck Schools Construction Committee, which I'm not too interested in.
Maybe that's a way in,
But I know it's a way in, but I mean, I have to see what,
the commitment is.
yeah, what the commitment is and all this other stuff.
They don't go to planning, they don't go to zoning, there's no traditional path for them when they wanna do improvements.
Yeah.
Except the New York State Department of Education.
So, yeah, they don't go through the village for anything. They just do what they have to do and they okay it because someone 300 miles away in Albany is probably giving them the okay to do it, so.
So if they allow you to sit in the meetings, ask them if you can, if I can,
Okay, yeah,
ask that suggested, whatever,
yeah, or if you wanna do a rotation, if that's, you know,
however, whatever.
I don't know how it's gonna work with them. They might only want one person. but I'll-
Representing.
Yeah,
whatever.
that's fine if you wanna do it. I don't
No, 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 no,
particularly
no.
wanna do it, but
But I think that if they're inviting you to something that you're
Yeah.
really truly advocating for and having a voice, having a resident's voice is important. And then two, if you representing like the flood mitigation committee, which this is what your concerns are about, I think it is a best session. That's why I'm only offering my time
Yeah,
so
no.
that I can, offset something that may be,
as long as it's in the winter and it doesn't cut into my golf time, that'd be fine with me.
So, but
God
really,
forbid.
sometimes I
Yeah.
don't, because with us now, we're on a asphalt pervious pavement. That I gave Gino the okay to move forward on a couple of projects today to start engineering those projects. Village-owned parking lots that are gonna have pervious pavement. And we're talking about a half-acre parking lot of asphalt now, that's gonna be pervious pavement. Any walkway that we do, I have to redo a walkway behind here. Where are we? Back there. And, I'm gonna put pervious pavers. Because it just takes a mention, right? But I don't know their mindset, so I'm trying to.
They're educational people, so it should be like, this is like new
Last
stuff.
time you dealt with the board of, I'm just kidding.
We're not asking for, we're asking for positives here. They're educational. This is new technology. It's good for the kids. It's the future.
I love using the town center as an example.
Right.
When you
Yes.
always go vote, right? You
Have
see
you
those
been
pervious
up there?
pavers.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
the
they
brick.
just
That's
have
what,
gaps.
yeah, that's what I
Other
say.
than that, they look pretty cool.
Well, I'll see I'll find out more when hopefully I'll get an answer sooner rather than later, but.
Mhm.
Village Manager Jerry. If we can get Dan, Dan did a good job last meeting on updates, I have to say, but if he could give us stuff like that, that's really great, you know,
Sarnoff?
yeah, he did,
Sarnoff will be back in, he's got a commission now for 2 weeks, he'll be back.
I know, so he did well last month. All right, I think we can be done in like 10 minutes, so. Really? Preparedness, hang on,
Right. New business.
all right, so the only other thing I want to say, emergency preparedness. Jerry, do we need a budget for, like with the certs? You're gonna need a budget, no?
Yeah, so, but, I have a emergency management line that I can handle.
Okay, because the only, so I said one thing and
You're talking about supplies and maybe some identification bags, those kinds of things.
yeah, and
Training is free.
right, train free, but like I want to do some sandbags, or the city now is giving out the things that expand, all right. Oh, but, okay, all right, Steve, what do you want us to go over, last couple of items?
I guess what was held over from last week, from last time, we want to do like a local meet and greet type of thing.
All right, so let's talk about that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I barely see them.
Can you explain to me?
Sure, what I'm thinking is, let's say we go to one part of the village. We promote it that we're gonna be there, you know, flyers and stuff like that, and, you know, and we just talk to those local people to, what is the problem? What is your problem with floods? What is happening here? What do you need done? And this way we're kind of, you know, and then we come up with things that need to be done, and we, you know, we propose to the Board of Trustees, this area needs these things done. So that's by talking to the people and.
Boots on the ground,
Mhm.
Yeah.
boots on the ground. So do you want to have meetings there so we can relocate the location of your meeting to that location?
I'm thinking with like a Saturday afternoon type of
Okay,
thing. We go there, we walk the river in that area.
Okay.
And, you know, we just talk to the people with what's happening in that community, in that part of the community.
So if you just listen and don't deliberate, you should be okay.
Yeah.
If you guys kind of get together and say, we should do this, we should do that, there should be a meeting notice.
I think that's a great idea.
We have more than 3 people there.
You can if you're just going out to talk to people, but if
You're not
talking about
meeting.
and deliberating stuff, then it gets a little dicey.
Yeah, we
You can
talk-
have 3
We
people.
talk about it, we make notes, we come back to the next meeting, we talk
Right.
about it, and we come up.
And if you have 3 people, then you're in good shape.
I think
If you have
that's.
more than 3 people, you gotta
Right,
kinda-
yeah.
So maybe we just break it down. I mean, for example, certain part of the Heights, Washingtonville,
New Rhinebeck.
sure, Rhinebeck, or yeah, break it up. That way,
Wherever the water flows.
We were talking about your area, one of the areas, you know, Stony Brook Avenue. You know,
So.
Short Street, Sunnyside, Stony Brook, those areas.
yeah, because that's one area we never talk about.
Right.
exactly. And one thing I find is when I'm, whether Shoreacres or Orienta, we are all impacted by flooding. We all can agree on that, because when the insurance companies come to you, they don't care if you're in Orienta or Washingtonville Heights, and they're dropping you as a carrier because you're in Mamaroneck, it affects all of us. And obviously the ratio of loss and the expenses the village incurs, everything impacts all. We're all in this. And so I think that that's also the message when we do our outreaches. Just because you live and maybe you haven't flooded in 10 years, we're still all, when schools have to close down, everyone's impacted. So
When would you like to implement this?
that's a really great idea, by the way.
Yes.
I just
Really
think,
good idea.
we just pick, let's say, a Saturday, a Saturday or Sunday next month, one that
Pick a
we,
date now,
yeah, we.
because then you'll be waiting till the next month to pick a date.
Yeah.
So
And
pick a date.
I would be cognitive of school, kids are all coming back, first weekend of sports and stuff like that. Parents are not gonna wanna be talking about flooding.
Can make it.
Yeah, and it also,
Whoever makes it, makes it.
Well,
and it's
yeah.
also the time, because if you do sports, usually for kids' sports, it's early in the
Yeah,
morning.
late morning to
Yeah.
midday.
Isn't there a couple holidays in
Rosh
September
Hashanah, Yom
too,
Kippur.
all that other stuff?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, that's some-
But not on
some
Saturdays.
holidays.
No,
yeah, but
Saturday.
for the weekends.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think, Rosh
I
Hashanah-
think, respectfully,
Was that
I
a
think
Monday?
October is a good month, only because you're through the rush
Yeah,
of getting
yeah,
back to school,
yeah.
we're through the holidays,
Okay,
people kind of
parent.
getting into their grind.
Okay, parent.
Can I bring something up with Jerry that That's.
Hang on,
Well, wait,
before we get off that,
Yeah, let's try to find a date for,
Oh, okay.
and I imagine we could make up flyers and go to the village office, get them, you know,
Yep.
get them copies and
Mr.
we,
Engineer.
we
Yeah,
put.
Robin will do it, or the graphic designer that we have,
And do we just want to circulate an email who will take,
So what we're looking for, Stephen, is information that you want on the flyer. And then we'll make it
Okay.
distributable.
Stephen, why don't you
Wanna
pick
go-
a date
Okay,
and then circulate it to us?
okay.
All right.
So
Okay.
if you're gonna go to certain sections, it's gonna be one flyer with those dates where you're going to be.
Yeah,
And then,
make it less confusing?
Yeah.
so why don't you, if, I don't know if you wanna make a serious commitment of doing 2 Saturdays a month or 1 Saturday, because then if you start getting into colder months, ain't nobody really wanna be outside like that. So, thinking, October, November, possibly in the beginning of December.
I think you can do October, November, that's a sweet.
I mean, you could start in, it's still fairly okay, depending
Anything
on,
over under 60, I'm cold.
that's your problem.
I know it is.
But-
It really is.
Just looking at those dates, because like, in regards to the flyer, and I'm not being picky on places.
I say let's do a flyer one, I mean, this is the first time we do this.
And pick 3 dates.
one date per location.
Yes,
Yeah.
but there'll be 3 dates on
Yeah.
the flyer. So if you guys wanna come back and just say that we'll, come back through email and say, these are the dates, how many people could do these dates?
And should we just, so we have, let's say, you'll do Washingtonville, you could do Washingtonville,
Yeah,
and
yeah, I mean, I wonder if we should do what, I mean, we've talked to Washingtonville a lot, maybe we should do
Okay.
areas we haven't talked to.
Heights.
Yeah.
Strikers.
Yes.
What's your area
That-
called?
That's 3.
What's your area
Right.
called?
Yeah.
Why don't we make her the first point?
Yeah,
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
we'll make yours the first area.
So the landmark in Sue's neighborhood is the Short Tree Bridge.
I would start over there,
yeah, all right.
start over there and,
Or
yeah.
go way south.
All right, great.
Good
All
job.
right,
Thank you.
Bernie, you had one other item?
Well, that's a segue. Can you explain what's happening with Beaver Brook,
Yeah,
with SLR
And I
and
don't have to do
the
it.
town of
Thank you.
Rye, and explain it, please?
yeah, so, the town administrator, I met with the town administrator for a different matter, and I asked her to set up a meeting with her and the supervisor, Gary Zuckerman. See you later, right? Take it easy.
That's Rye supervisor.
Rye supervisor,
Mhm.
town Rye supervisor, and Debbie, who's the administrator, she's off this week, she's on vacation this week. Next week, she wants to meet to talk about an IMA, an intermunicipal agreement to use our dredging contractor and our permits to go into the Beaver Swamp Brook and do some dredging above and around the high school. Right around where the high school is, we've done some cleaning. We don't really need to dredge there, but above that is where they need to dredge, and that's kind of Rye territory.
So around the high school,
Around the high school.
You want Rye High School? Or Rye or Rye High School?
That's Rye High School, right? Rye.
Mhm.
Right, so James can access with our excavator, James can access the Rhinebeck High School location, because we have easy access. Our dredger will have to go into the Rye town section that we can't access. Because we can't, But we'll be talking to her and him about a municipal agreement, and I'll bring it to you. If they're amenable to it, I'll bring it to you guys at the board at one of our meetings,
Mhm.
and then we'll just send the query. And that area as well.
Do they have to get
Have
permits?
that conversation
So,
next week.
so on that area, I can do around culverts, like I have that
Oh.
permit from the DEC.
Okay,
Right, around culverts and crossings, but what I can't do is go further. I can't go on the other side of Boston Post Road,
So I was just gonna
because
ask,
that's tight,
that. So that's that's because it's title.
even up on the other side of Boston Post Road,
Yeah,
behind where that little strip mall is, off of Harrison Avenue, I can't even go there.
really.
Jerry,
Yes,
what about the Shore Acres Drive, that section of that brook?
I can't, the Guyan Creek, I can't go into its title. So that's a separate permit, that our consultant will be applying for, since we just got through the other permitting process. And part of that, Elsa, is that it's like a footbridge over
Yes.
behind the, I guess it's Soundview or whatever that street is, right?
That's Shore Acres Drive, and it's
The Shore Acres Drive, right? Soundview's on
yes,
the side. Shore Acres
yeah,
Drive. So when the DEC toured the village, they noticed that that bottleneck should be removed. So the town has, I have to talk to the town about doing that.
yeah. That bridge was built after Sandy because it was destroyed during Sandy, and they made it narrower. So now it's like a bottleneck there.
It's a bottleneck. It's,
Yeah,
Maria DeRose showed it to me when I first came to the village.
right. Yes.
Yep.
So
So.
how come in the previous studies that they've done for the brook and their recommendations, they never had any problems with it or mentioned it being titled? Because what I read is Sky Creek is titled.
And up near Boston Post Road, you're correct. They extend the title up to on the other side. of Boston Post Road. But then above that, it's not titled. Above that, it's not titled. Which has allowed us to go in and remove large debris, woody type debris.
So we're being penalized because that area down there is titled.
No, it's not necessarily penalized, it's a separate permit process.
But they took us out of the capital project plan because they said we were titled.
Who took you out? We did.
Yeah, we were in it and then that last week, we're not in your comprehensive plan or we were in there for 21, 22, 23, 24, and now we're not in there. We're not in the comprehensive plan under any of your.
Are you talking about the Short Street Bridge?
Short Street Bridge was in there at the culvert, but not the brook itself. That plan from 2016 was gonna widen, fix the walls all the way from Short Street all the way down to the Point Road, where that's a bottleneck, a big bottleneck down there. It gets down there and it has no way to go.
Correct, that's why it wiped it out last time during Ida.
And that, like I said before, that whole area back there, if you walk back there behind Scott's house, well, it wasn't about to die, but that whole area used to be called Rye Lake. It was a lake, so we've just done stuff the whole area.
So my understanding is Short Street Bridge, Debbie Reisner wants us to help her with the Short Street Bridge, even though it's a town of Rybrook, right? I think you've spoken to her a couple of times ago.
I haven't spoken to her, no.
Okay, but she's aware of some of the emails that you sent.
I speak to Lindsay Jack.
Okay, so you spent to Lindsey Jackson, the council person. And then from there, we wanted to include the Beaver Swamp Brook into this permit that we just received. And we were asked to remove it so that we could expedite this permit and then apply for a different permit for that area there. So now our GEI, who's our consultant, will apply for dredging in and around that tidal area because that received damage.
So when you do the Short Street culvert, the bridge, what exactly is that gonna entail? Because all those walls on all four sides are all owned by the village.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna do the bridge, the town of Rye is gonna do the bridge.
And are they gonna fix anything else around that bridge?
We haven't had detailed conversations about that. We have not, but I have met Debbie at that bridge to talk about the bridge. And I thought that you had initiated that conversation.
I probably did.
Yeah, probably did. Okay, so Lindsay is telling us as a telling Debbie as her council person to take a look at it. So that's still in flux. Right?
Does the town of Rye have the access to the SLR report or no? That,
I don't think I sent it to him.
okay.
I can send it to him, but I don't think I sent it to him.
You can send it to Lindsay, but she's on maternity leave.
Because they
That's
looked
why-
extensively in that area. I mean, I walked that with them from the footbridge all the way up to,
Well, I'll send
Short
it to
Street.
Debbie on Monday when she comes back, but I'm supposed to meet next week with them.
okay.
What other facilities do they own in the village?
They own the Otter Creek Bridge.
Okay,
Okay, they own that. They own Short Street, and then they were partners in the Hillside Avenue Bridge. Right, anything that has in the Rhinebeck neighborhood type of thing.
Very confusing.
It's very confusing.
Well, yeah, I get it. I get it.
Too many different.
It was the way.
New York State, the towns are responsible for bridges and all that.
And then sometimes, well, like, that's why Waverly Avenue Bridge is not a village bridge, it's a town bridge. Just because of how New York State structures things. But it's not a project that we're
Ignoring,
giving up on, yeah, we're just,
just trying to find the best
I gotta
possible
move
way.
things along and,
Because if we don't move things along, then we'll hear that we're not moving.
but I have permits now, so then I can start working on other stuff. That's why I wanna meet with
And also
Debbie
being
and Gary.
persistent.
Can I
need to
just-
meet with Debbie and Gary.
I have a question, because I'm trying to understand this whole situation. I'm not really that familiar with that area, but I understand that there's parts of this are title and parts, including Short Street and Otter Street bridges, are owned by the town of Rye, and they have to determine what they're going to do. But Susan's mentioned the walls of the
Channel.
channel. And are we planning or looking at something as the village or
So-
no?
The walls of the channel are WPA walls, right? They were built in the thirties.
I'm familiar.
And what ends up happening is we go by the surveys. Typically, if you live on a river, your property goes to the middle of that river,
Okay,
typically. There may be some occasion where the survey does not, and then it is not the property owner's wall. But there are surveys along the river that go to the middle of the river. Person on one side, the person on the other side.
so we're not quite sure yet?
We're not quite sure.
No, it's the Village of Amerenic's property that's already been established in like the last 15 years. I have documentation from Cleveland saying that it's the Village of Amerenic's property.
So that's
And
why.
also on some of my original older surveys of my home and my land, and that's where I first found out. It says there's my property line with my fence, and it says on the other side, Village of Amerenic. So that's where I first saw that, and that's when I started to investigate that further. And that's when I found out it was the Village of Amerenic.
So what we did was, we were called out to a person who lives on Short Street. There's only a few houses that live on, the person lives on Short Street. He had just purchased the house and the wall was along the Beaver's Home Road. His survey showed that he owned the wall. He asked us if we could partner up and do it. The previous engineer said we couldn't because we didn't own it. So some surveys say, and I don't know, I know where Sue lives, but I don't know exactly what the surveys say because I haven't seen it.
Yeah, and I don't know about the others
This is the short.
side
Right,
that
this is the
would
short.
say it would. So all those people there all had those walls built in 1935. It's just they crumbled more on that other side than they have.
They have, yeah, they have. But if I go to where Leilani grew up, every one of those individuals own half of the river. On Howard, on the hillside side of it.
But if the owners say they do own the property, isn't it the best interest of the village to wanna try to get the money and fix it themselves? I mean, do you want me going in the river and like fixing the rocks by hand, or do you wanna do it with where it's
No,
properly
I'm
done?
I'm not opposed to doing it if it's ours, I'm not opposed to it.
So, but if it's not,
Yeah, but if it's not yours, is it to the,
Then I gotta get the board to okay what we're doing because we're working on.
oh,
private
okay, so then it
property.
has to go through there and then.
It gets dicey when you're working on private property. It gets dicey.
Because
So-
people are gonna say, why do you spend the money on private property?
If it's not village property, I know like with our brook too, I think that's when Corey didn't want the study to take place because it was personal property. But then that's what Susan told her, it's not personal property, the village owns the right of way on the channel.
So Rich kept every single piece of paper that he generated in file cabinets in Dan Sarnoff's office. I will look at the Short Street.
I have the, he actually posted it on Facebook, I have it, and I gave it to every one of my neighbors to always keep.
Okay,
is it possible that you can email that to us or,
Okay,
thank
we've
you.
received emails from Super.
No, I know we have, but I'm just
Yeah.
that what she's talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
And then for us, it's repair in kind, just like we do down at the harbor, when we get the walls blow out, we get the contractor to fix it, and it's a repair in kind. They will not allow us, because those walls do not have a foundation, they will not allow us to put foundations
This is
when we
crazy.
repair the walls,
The seawalls.
the seawalls.
It's crazy.
There are no foundations. We say, there's a 145-foot section, we wanna put a foundation, rebuild the wall. State says no way.
Now, if there is a foundation existing, could you rebuild the foundation if there is?
Yeah, but typically you wouldn't have we wouldn't have the wall if we had a foundation. That's it would be ground.
But I'm looking at it as a construction way that I mean, do you want? I mean, it would be for your best interest to have one person doing the whole wall on either side,
Probably.
as opposed to me getting my contractor, he gets his contractor, and then we're tying into each other.
Yeah, and at the harbor, it was the same contract at both locations, West Basin and. Because they do it.
Yeah, they do it all the time. I mean,
Maybe, hey, Bern, maybe when we go on these neighborhood surveys, we could see if we could get people to work together.
We should go into that neighborhood.
That's what we said we'd go there
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, we should go into that.
But if the Army, when the Army Corps does their project, and from what I heard from the SLL, our discussion, the channels are gonna be anywhere from 40 to 60 feet wide, right?
Not the Beaver Swamp Brook. Not
Well-
talking about Beaver Swamp Brook.
But it's gonna probably be 10 feet wider, right? They're just opening everything up. My
They don't
point,
have, I don't think there's a segment of the Army Corps that goes into the Beaver Swamp.
no,
Brook.
that's correct,
Yeah, but
right?
everything else is gonna be wider, or it's gonna be built up with walls.
Right. So
it
to
becomes
me,
a
in
funnel.
either case, though, those old walls are coming out.
I mean, you need to see these walls. Those walls, I don't think are going anywhere. They are in disrepair, I won't lie. They are in disrepair, and some stones have been dislodged, but those walls are solid.
But they're moving. I can tell you, I watched, you might think I'm, but I know that wall. I know my wall. I know the last one in Ida. The rocks below it at the bottom moved out, and that jutted one of those big flipping things forward, because I
It
worked
shifted.
from home. And then I realized I could see right underneath my fence out, and then that's when I knew there was a problem, and I went out there. The wall moved forward, and so did part of my backyard, and when you walk on my backyard towards like 4 feet in, it's just, you can feel underneath it, there's no dirt there, it's not there, it's like a big, and my neighbor is just as bad, he's got sinkholes. You could feel like there's nothing underneath it. I think the only thing that's holding up is the, that county sewer line.
So that's, what Susan describing is the same thing that happened to top of Devon Bridge. The water from either just pops that.
Scoured it out.
Undermined it.
Undermined it.
yeah.
All right, do I have a motion to close this meeting?
So moved.
When you put the date together, if I could just ask Stephen, put the date together for the Short Street location. I got to invite the supervisor and the town administrator. They're gonna wanna be there.
Okay.
They wanna be there for that.
Yeah, when we settle the dates, we'll.
Yeah, because that's their constituency, but it's also something that I've met with Devin about, right?
All right, so I'll rephrase it. Does anyone have anything else that we need to talk about? Sorry. We're good?
Oh, are we gonna start a subcommittee for the reservoir?
For which one?
Reservoir.
So do we need, so we're gonna I'm gonna send our motion, approved motion to the board, Ari, the study of the retention detention in the watershed, including the Mamaroneck Reservoir. There was discussion, I think, before you came in, or just about when you came in, Jerry, about having a subcommittee to try to it was the fundraising burn to go after the funding?
Yeah, with the county.
So if the board,
No.
you can do it, you can set it up contingent on if the board approves the movement of the request. You're asking the board to act on something,
Right.
then the county will, if the county does it, then you need some members to kind of report back, management, you can't all get together and do it. but three members could email each other, they could talk, they could attend meetings together
Mhm.
at the county.
Because, excuse me, the last time we spoke was for going to meetings. The purpose
County
was,
meetings.
yeah, the county
Yeah,
meetings
yeah.
was the purpose of
4
going
o'clock
to the
or
county
4 o'clock
meetings.
county meetings. They do them in the middle of the afternoon.
Yeah, so
All right, so does the FMAC want to develop a subcommittee to go after, assist the village to go after county funding?
I think that the county should go after the funding and we should get involved with, if they do go for the funding, more to try to be involved with the study itself. No?
I think, Patty, the committee should be formed when the county shows up, when there's a little bit of a plan, when there's some
Right.
movement on that. I think the plan should be formed, because I'd like to put Dan on it, because Dan's got a lot of knowledge, especially with the way the county works.
Okay, so we'll send the motion. And then if the board approves it, we'll talk about the committee in the September.
The board's letter is gonna get attention at George's office or at Catherine's
Mhm.
office. And then at some point, they're going to, like I say, send Dave Domingo, or Catherine will show up, or Joe will show up, or something, you'll get something.
Somebody will show
Just
up.
send the request as soon as possible so I can ask Dan to put it on the.
Sorry, what?
I said, send the request as soon as possible so that I can ask Dan to put it on the work session.
The resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna send,
Yeah, but you know, traffic may come up and say something, and I only get two things I could put on the agenda,
So we want to get it
quicker-
before traffic.
Or if I have a personal thing that I wanna put on, so
I'll get the motion out tomorrow.
before
Traffic won't
traffic,
be
I'm just
happy.
saying, I only have
The
two
next
limit.
Real work session is September 12th.
Yes.
Ronnie's right. Each trustee gets 2 items. to put on the work
Okay.
session.
All right, so I'll get the motion out. Tomorrow's either Wednesday or Thursday. Okay, anything else?
I think there was one thing I know a lot, it came up about the parking during the flooding.
Parking,
Yeah, the parking in the village parking lot, that it wasn't free. I know there was a lot of people who were complaining about that.
yeah, so Hunter Pier? Yes. Yeah, so if you're in a flood zone and you wanna move your car there, I wouldn't worry about it, but I'm not gonna continue to advertise free parking. Because then people, like I said to Leilani and others, with $80,000 SUVs, wanna try to get out of tickets when they get there and they think the parking is free.
Okay.
Every time we do an announcement, no one should worry about parking in the Hunter Pier or paying for parking at the Hunter Pier. But as far as us advertising it, I don't know, good idea.
All right, that's fine.
So our people,
Maybe we shouldn't say, point out that you will
No,
have to
and
pay
that's what
for
is
it
happening.
when it goes out with a flood kind of
Yeah,
thing. That was kind of like,
but it's not that we say you have to pay, it's just that it's not free. But it is-
yeah, maybe those
it
words
is-
shouldn't be in it though.
It is generous for us to do those kinds of things for the people who have the PTSD and the concern. But you have to look at it from my point. When I get support letters asking me to waive
Oh,
tickets
wow.
because someone forgot to pay the meter up there and it wasn't a flood day, I have to deal with it. Please don't worry if you live in a flood zone and you want to park at the 100 tier. And we send out an announcement, there will not be a problem utilizing that parking lot and not having to worry about it.
Not parking.
Great, good, thank you. All right,
I
anything
do it
else?
myself.
Motion to close the meeting?
Oh, I'm so sorry. It's me. I attended the Washingtonville Neighborhood Association meeting on Monday, and I'm sorry, but I did mention the if any flood victims, which I'm gonna work with Robert to see if he can develop a flyer for me, but I'm looking to see if any of the flood victims is if they are looking for any type of mental health support. The community counseling center is willing to partner with me to provide that type of support group for free. So if anybody is willing to want to join that, be a participant, they can. And it'll be both in English and Spanish.
How do they get in contact with you to do that?
I'm gonna try to develop a flyer as soon as possible, so that I can gain more interest to see when we will start it.
All right, anything else?
No.
Good answer. So moved.
Favor?
Hi, guys.
All right.
Hi,
Elsa and Dave, thank you very much.
thank you.
Hopefully see you in person in September.
Yes,
These out of town vacations, you know? Thank you.
Big ass to the rats.
thank you.
I mean,
Dave.
I'm wondering about my neighbors.